Well, I'm wearing two hats this morning. Outgoing senior warden and organizer of the speaker series, and as you all know, it's our tradition, thank you, it is the tradition for the outgoing senior warden to preside during the 10 o'clock speaker series hour over a presentation from candidates for the Vestry, who will be elected next Sunday. So those 6 candidates are, in alphabetical order, as you know, Marion Blakey, Kaye Edwards, Caroline Faris, Nora Haugh, Jack Reiffer, and Jess Unger. Each of them will, in no more than 5 minutes, they promise me, tell us briefly about themselves, when and how they first came to St. John's, what's kept them here over the years, in what capacities they've served, what their areas of particular interest are, and what they hope to achieve if elected to the Vestry. I should mention at the outset that through no fault of her own, Marion Blakey is abroad this weekend on a long-planned and already paid-for foreign trip. She didn't know that she would be asked to stand for election to the Vestry. So to accommodate her, she has recorded a short video that, if the AV gods cooperate, we'll be able to see, and if not, I've got a written statement from her that I can read in her stead. After each of the candidates has spoken, and please be sure to speak into this microphone when you do, we will be done well before the end of the 10:50 stop time. So we're not going to have a formal Q&A session just to make sure that we stay on time and so that we're equitable to each candidate, but instead, we've asked each of them to stay for a few minutes, so if any of you has questions, you can ask them of them individually. So with that, we'll begin, and we'll hear first from Marion Blakey.
Hi, I'm Marion Blakey, and coming to you via video because, unfortunately, when I learned about being nominated for the Vestry, I was very honored, and I also said, I can't be there that Sunday. I have a commitment long-standing out of the country. So anyway, here I am on video, and the other disclaimer is I did say when I was approached, I might be a little bit of a retread because I served on the Vestry way back, a couple of decades ago, in fact. Well, I was told that, the church believes in recycling, so I'm delighted to be able to have a chance to do this and to talk to you about what I think is important for us in the church. It was very, very exciting when we got that magnificent gift, millions of dollars recently, that gives us an opportunity to do a number of things that I think are important. I recently visited, for example, the Bishop Walker School for Boys. Really a nifty investment on our part. And I hope the Vestry, whoever serves on it, will continue to invest in those kinds of things. I'm also very taken with the fact that one of the things that attracts a lot of us, new people, young people, is the education programs we have. And I want to see us continue and invest in those. And finally, at St. John's, music and ministry are tied together. And the wonderful music that St. John's provides Sunday after Sunday, with a ministry that I think is inspired in part by that, as well as their interesting and extensive experience. So all of those things are things that I think the Vestry should be investing in, keeping in mind, and if I have a chance to represent you all on the Vestry, I look forward to finding out what you think is important and how we can together best serve St. John's. Thank you for giving me a minute to talk to you. I'm just sorry I can't be there in person.
Kaye Edwards.
I see Clark's notes. Maybe I'll use those. Good morning. Thank you for being here. I'll warn you right away that public speaking is at the top of my list of fears, so bear with me. I'm honored to stand for election to St. John's Vestry, and with such 5 outstanding candidates. I've been involved at St. John's for more than 30 years. My 2 now adult children were baptized here. They were in the church school and acolyted. My daughter was married here. As a parent volunteer, I helped with the church school in various roles and coordinated the acolytes. After several years here feeling like a Baptist, I grew up in a Baptist church, in a foreign land, learning the calisthenics, how to use 2 books at one time, I was confirmed at St. John's. Since then, this church has been a constant source of support and community for me and my family. After working on Capitol Hill, I joined the staff of St. John's as an assistant for church growth, a position I held for more than 20 years. I evolved, some say I retired, from that position more than a year ago. As a staff person, I spent most of my time working with newcomers, many of whom were seeking to have their marriages sanctified here, to be baptized, or have their children baptized. In short, I was privileged to take part in some of the most important and personal milestones in many of your lives, a privilege I truly cherish. One of the most interesting of my assignments was to help with the Christmas pageant. I found that it required some tender and delicate attention to politics. My years in Congress paid off. It was all good politics, by the way. As a parishioner and member of the staff, I've had the opportunity to participate in most of the church's programs. I've overseen the work of several committees and managed our partnership with the Kwasi College in South Africa. I'm familiar with about every aspect of the life of this really committed parish. It would be a privilege for me now to move into a different relationship with my church community as a member of the Vestry. If elected, I'll work to strengthen our ministries, the ones we're already doing so well, programs that lead us to a deeper relationship with God, that enhance our connections with each other, that contribute to the health of our city, our nation, and the world, and that help us fulfill our mission to do good in the world. Thank you.
Caroline Faris.
So since F follows E, I have the distinct pleasure of following the legend, Kaye Edwards, whom we all love. So my name is Caroline Faris, and it is my honor to be considered for a position on the vestry. My husband, Steve, and I, and our 3 children, Philip, Stephen, and Juliet, have been parishioners at St. John's since 2013. We moved back to the States in 2012 from Singapore, where we had lived for many years. And we moved back when our second son, Stephen, was starting at Episcopal High School in Alexandria, Virginia, following in the footsteps of our older son, Philip, and my father, Henry, who were all students at Episcopal. And so we established ourselves here in Washington, D.C., and we had learned about St. John's from the choir director, who was the choir director at Episcopal and also worked here. He talked to us all about St. John's and how wonderful it was. And also Juliet asked us to find a church with a youth group. So as one does in today's day and age, I Googled Washington, D.C. churches with youth groups. St. John's came up. So we found our spiritual home. And it wasn't long after that we became parishioners that Louise called and said, "Would Juliet like to be Mary in the Christmas pageant?" So we jumped in with both feet. I'll never forget that I became an inaugural member of the Sisters of St. John when our beloved Lisa Kirchenbauer talked to Luis about making sure that the women at St. John's felt more connection to each other. And I was at the first women's retreat at DuPont House in Rehoboth and have been able to attend many retreats since then on an annual basis. It's coming up in March for all of us women at St. John's. And I'll never forget when Joanne reached out and asked me to come to the EFM class, the upcoming EFM class. It was a wonderful opportunity for me to participate more fully in the church and to follow in both my parents' footsteps because they also did EFM. So I'm a second generation EFMer. I think my dad told me that he was in the first EFM class ever. I love being a greeter, so thank you to the Odoms for reaching out. I love being a greeter and a reader at St. John's. Those are some of my favorite ways to contribute to our parish life. I'm very interested in the bell tower restoration and would like to play an active role in seeing that our beautiful historical landmark is fully preserved and restored. I'm also very proud of all the ways that St. John's actively and purposefully engages in the community, our parish community, the local community, and our global community. So I'm interested in assisting more fully in our various outreach opportunities. I currently work at Georgetown University. I am an assistant director of undergraduate admissions in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions. I love my job. I love my colleagues. It is a privilege for me to do what I do. I go into the office 4 days a week because we do get to work remotely 1 day a week. Okay, that's all about me in 5 minutes or less. Again, I want to thank you for considering me for the position on the vestry. It would be my honor and my privilege to serve you in this capacity. Thank you so much.
Nora Haugh.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here this morning to hear us speak. I know how much it has meant to me as a member at St. John's that we take separate and intentional time to hear the members of the vestry nominee candidates to speak and tell us a little bit about themselves. It is an honor now to stand here at the front as a nominee. My husband Everett and I began attending St. John's in early 2019, and while our first few years at the church were certainly not how we pictured them, they were still filled with joy and community. We had the opportunity during COVID to attend Zoom coffee hours where we were singled out in the best way as newcomers and welcomed by many longtime members, including, as Caroline noted, the Odoms, which meant we became greeters. We had the opportunity also to attend the Adult Inquirers class and Sacred Ground on a virtual basis, and we were so pleased that the St. John's community found a way to be together throughout a difficult and often isolating period in our lives. Then, as the church transitioned back to in-person services, I had the opportunity to take over as youth acolyte coordinator from Debbie Haley, who certainly left big shoes to fill. I also got to work with Sean and the youth group leaders to plan a youth lock-in that included acolyte training and a bonding activity evening, as well as serving the parish lunch. It has always brought me such joy to serve at St. John's. I have always felt supported and encouraged to share my ideas and appreciate the opportunity to potentially continue doing so on the vestry. Rob, Sarah, Sean, and Will have done so much in recent years to revamp our many ministries, including broad support for the volunteers that help to make them run. I would love to see the church continue expanding our non-Sunday service offerings to better engage new and existing members in our community. For example, expanding on our young adult offerings and service opportunities throughout the wider DC community. I would also like to find new ways to engage our young families. Being a city church comes with unique challenges, not the least of which is maintaining membership when people transition as young adults to families with new Sunday commutes, hectic schedules, and many different needs during a Sunday service. It has been such a joy, therefore, to see St. John's bring back youth and children's choirs. I believe we could find opportunities to offer concurrent sessions for all of our community members, but especially the parents who are getting their children to those practices. Perhaps there's even a world in which we have parish dinners that allow everyone to come and gather again. I think that this not only is a wonderful opportunity for our community at large, but perhaps a simplification to an evening schedule that expands the opportunity for more families to participate. Now, I work in finance. I know expanding these offerings does not come without a cost. And I know that there can often be a chicken and the egg conversation around expanding our services while also trying to increase revenue. But I do believe that we can do both. St. John's, both the physical space and the church parish, have faced many challenges and lots of change over recent years. We have successfully continued moving forward, welcoming newcomers, and serving our community. I hope each day to do the same and would bring the same mindset into vestry service should I be elected. Thank you.
Jack Reiffer.
Good morning. I'm very grateful to be a nominee for St. John's Vestry. I've been a member at St. John's Church for about 12 years. I typically attend the 9 a.m. service. I serve as a reader, chalice bearer, crucifer, lay Eucharistic minister. I bring communion to some of those who cannot attend worship. I sing in the summer choir. I'm currently chair of the pastoral care ministry team, and I lead the adult Bible study. That also doubles as a sermon discussion group. I'm one of the editors of the Pathways Through Lent devotional series. I was raised in the Christian Reformed Church in West Michigan and served for 30 years as a pastor and ordained minister under the inspiration of a high school teacher who was a freedom rider and activist in civil rights. My ministry track ended up being on the edges of my tradition. I served in black churches in New York City and Grand Rapids and Chicago, and then as a campus minister at a church in Champaign-Urbana at the University of Illinois. And finally, at the one Christian Reformed church that's here in DC, up near Fort Totten. I lost the opportunities to continue as a minister in the CRC after coming out as a gay man. Becoming an Episcopalian was a really easy transition for me. I knew already so many people and was fond of the lectionary for preaching, even though it wasn't required in my tradition. I knew the St. Thomas rector, Jim Holmes, and I was already singing with Jim Krieger in another choir. He was the music director there. So the welcome I received at St. Thomas was overwhelming. I was invited to preach from time to time. I covered vacations for the organist. I served on the worship planning committee and later on the rector search committee when Jim Holmes retired. I was there for 14 years before moving here to St. John's in 2012. My paid work after parish ministry was in administration at 3 really interesting nonprofits. I was an administrator at Chorus America. It's the national service organization for independent choruses. Then about a decade, just a few blocks from here, as the parish administrator at Luther Place Church on Thomas Circle. That position involves some involvement with N Street Village, the largest area program serving women dealing with homelessness, and Washington Interfaith Network was one of our tenants at St. Thomas. That's where I got to know some of the leaders from St. John's Church. Before retirement, I worked as an administrator at Christ House in Adams Morgan. It's a medical facility for men dealing with homelessness. It's been in these 25 years that I cultivated what had been my side skills in ministry, things like administration and learning the business side of running a church and other nonprofits. I'm currently the treasurer and a member of the personnel committee of the Gay Men's Chorus, and I also manage our Chorus Care Corps. My wife and I divorced as part of those big transitions when I came out. We have a cordial relationship and a shared delight in our sons and daughters-in-law and our 7 grandchildren. Yvonne lives in a retirement community near our older son in Grand Rapids. Our younger son's family lives in Rockville here in the DMV. He and his family were thrilled to visit St. John's a year ago, and Rob invited me to preach on Transfiguration Sunday. A significant second track in my life has been music, as many of you know. I'm in the Gay Men's Chorus now for my 26th year. I sing in the main chorus and in one of the small ensembles, Rock Creek Singers. We perform dozens of community outreach gigs every year. In the 70s and 80s, I spent a decade helping with the revision of our denominational hymn book. And then last year, Lynn Lowy invited me to join the board of the Women's Sacred Music Project. We recently published Resounding Voices. It's a new collection of songs for worship from composers and poets who identify as women. I appreciate working with our St. John's clergy and staff I'm enriched by the worship and sermons here and the wide range of social justice activities that are part of our congregational life. I think I would bring to the vestry my skills in administration of mission-driven nonprofits and a heart for the new challenges related to our ministry, especially with those who are marginalized in our city and society. Thank you.
And finally, Jess Unger.
Morning, folks. As the last speaker, I just want to take a moment to recognize the phenomenal set of people who are running alongside me for these open vestry positions. I just want to recognize the extraordinary talent and experience that all of you bring, and I'd be honored to serve alongside you on the vestry if elected. Tell you all a little bit about me and what brought me to St. John's, a little bit about what I love about St. John's, and a little bit about what I might be able to bring if I served on the vestry. I came to St. John's as a very young first-year law student back in 2013. It was easy to fall in love with the beautiful space, the beautiful music, and the preaching of Luis Leon. As I came to know St. John's better, I came to appreciate some of the values that run through this congregation: curiosity and love of learning, a love for each other, an ability to take care of each other, both in the good times and the bad, and a desire, a willingness, and ability to take care of our broader community as well through our outreach ministries and the work that we do in Greater Washington. I've been able to participate in a lot of different wonderful ministries and activities here at St. John's over the years. I've enjoyed especially Theology on Tap, but also our Sacred Ground Learning Circles, the Latrobe Fellowship, our outreach ministry through the Refugee Committee and through Grace's Table, and I've been lucky for the last 2 years to serve as co-chair of the Latrobe Fellowship alongside my wonderful wife, who I married here at St. John's in 2021, and the fabulous Kate Seifert. I think a few other skills I might bring to the vestry. I'm trained as a lawyer. That actually doesn't distinguish me, I think, at St. John's. But I have some nonprofit management experience as well. I serve on the board of the Virginia Civic Engagement Table and have done so for about 4 years now. And I've served also as the unit chair of the union at my workplace, and have experience working both in bringing people together from an organizing capacity and managing the trajectory of an organization financially and in terms of mission. I'd be honored to serve on the vestry, and I'd humbly ask for your vote next Sunday. Thank you all.
Well, on behalf of Rob and Nora and the entire vestry, I want to thank each of the candidates for standing. And my reaction is, what an embarrassment of riches we have, and how lucky we are to have each of you as a candidate. So we'll end now, and as I said, each of the candidates is going to stick around, so if any of you has questions, please ask them of them. Thank you very much for being here today.